I love your face on that, Michael.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We're on a special episode of the Culture Nerd Podcast where we are going to talk Talkville with Michael Rosenbaum and Tom Welling. You guys know them as Lex Luthor and Clark Kent from Smallville, one of the longest-running shows of its time, and absolutely a diehard. If you're a Superman fan, you should know the show. So they don't need any introduction, so let's just get right into it, everyone. Awesome.
Hello, guys. How are you?
Hello.
I like that. Let's talk Talkville. I like that.
Yep.
Talkville.
I love the title
Michael
for that
doesn't know
show.
who we are. Michael, I'm Tom Welling. I was on Smallville.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, great.
Michael Rosenbaum, he played Lex Luthor. He had a lot less hair.
Yeah,
I know you're not as familiar as Taylor is, so I just wanted to.
I appreciate you bringing it to me. I also had to shave my head for a production once, and it's the worst. So I totally commiserate. The fact that you had to do it for a large majority of your life.
I had to shave that head for 7 years, and what's crazy is people still ask me, "Did you shave your head at your bulk up?" I'm like, "I shaved it. Come on."
You have a lot in common with like Michael Phelps. You and like Olympic swimmers really understand the dedication to your art form.
I know. Hey, hold on a second. Somebody's at the door. Damn it.
Happens all the time. I tell you, the funny thing is, we would, in filming the show, we would have scenes outside, and a lot of times in Vancouver, they would always do like the rain towers. They would always somehow be in like the darkest, coldest time of the year. They'd film these things, and I'd be outside in a jacket and a t-shirt, jeans, and boots. Michael would be in a suit with a bald head, and he'd be like, "I'm freezing! I'm freezing! Let's go!" Because there's nothing up there.
I was always cold, especially in Vancouver. I mean, it rains a lot. It's always cold. I was like, it's tough being a bald man.
Especially also because it was foisted upon you. It wasn't a genetic thing. It wasn't like something you were coming to terms with. It was forced. It was hoisted upon you, and you had to accept it.
Yeah, Michael, was there a waiver, Michael? Like when they were like, before we gives you this job, you're gonna shave your head, right? Was there?
I think there was something like that where I think they paid me extra to shave my head.
Oh, nice.
Did it become later on though? Once we were just looking at it. Mazel tov on 12 seasons. It's the TV landscape today is so different.
10 seasons. 10 seasons.
10
I was
seasons?
just gonna let him go. He's confused with Supernatural or something.
Did it run through? What were the years? It started in 2001.
2001 to 2011, right, Tom?
Sure, it was 10 seasons.
Oof.
Yeah, May 2011. I Googled it because none of us knew, apparently.
Great. 200 episodes is
217.
I didn't know the exact amount. I knew it was 200
your homework,
plus.
Michael.
That's
what is
why
wrong
I left
with
it
you?
there. I told them I did no homework. That's on me.
I like it.
Are you able? You're going back and watching it now. Are you able to watch it with fresh eyes, or does it feel like watching your high school yearbook again? Because I look back at those things and go, "Oh my God, I can't believe I was such a dummy." You have this huge record of your lives. Are you excited to go back?
Tom, what do you feel? How do you feel?
I feel like I couldn't have done this even 5 years ago. I think we've just been, we've been doing a lot of conventions and meeting fans and seeing how they react to the show and hearing their questions and wanting to know more. And me, myself, I want to know a lot of times the film and television shows that I like to know how'd you guys do that? Like, how'd you make that happen? And this is a great way to do it with Michael's success of his podcast and the team that he has. It just was like, hey, why don't we just watch these shows and then the next day get on and just rap about it, make fun of them, bring up stories that people might not know, talk about the things that came to your mind while you watched it. And Michael, because he played Lex Luthor, wasn't there all the time and Michael didn't watch a lot of the episodes. He's watching a lot of them for the first time. So it's a lot of fun.
It's crazy to go back and sit back so many years later. And it's been 20 years since that first season aired. And you watch these episodes and see who I was 20 years ago and who we were. And there's part of it you can really appreciate it. It's part that's kind of you're a little vulnerable. You're watching yourself, but all in all, I think we're watching as a fan now. So I think we can relate to what people are feeling all these years, and it's a really cool experiment. It's like let's just dive in, see what happens. We don't know what's going to come. We don't know each episode what we're going to recall.
We don't remember how every episode goes, by the way.
Yeah, of
I don't
course.
remember how they end. So
Yeah.
it's going to be exciting.
And we have a lot of content. We have 217 episodes of content to talk about. So I hope it's not going to fade off right away, because we're like, Michael's show is based upon guest stars. We will have some. We've already banked a couple with a major cast star that graced us with her appearance, and we'll continue to do that. But it's really just rapping about it. We answer fan questions. We rate the episodes based on a scale that Rosenbaum came up with, and he's a little more critical than I am about some things. But it's a blast. Like, it's a lot of fun.
One thing that I wanted to bring up, you said 217 episodes, and if you watch one episode a week, that's about 52 episodes a year. So you're going to be committing to this for about 4+ years. That's kind of awesome and daunting at the same time.
We're gonna, like Michael says, that's the idea, but let's just keep it cute. You know what I mean? Like, we're not trying to burn ourselves out either. Like, we did a couple already, and then one day we're like, let's do 2 in a row. And what we kind of found was that the second one maybe lost a little energy, so we might not do that. We might just keep it the one. You got to separate. You guys know you can't.
Welcome to the world of content, and absolutely. Every day starts with, Taylor, let's get on. Let's do a bunch of episodes. Then a kid starts crying. The wife's car breaks down. It's a lot of time to put into it. And your fan base is super excited that you guys are doing this.
Yeah, look, we're excited. And like Tom said, I think we are going to have fun with this. And we want to keep doing it till it's not fun. And hopefully that fun will last. And
the fun for me is a curiosity. Like, I'm curious watching these still, because I haven't watched them. And, I watched them all as we were producing them, but I haven't. It's come across on TV, and like my son, it was on TV once, and my wife was like, "Who's that?" And my son looked at the TV and looked at me. And he goes, "That's Dada," and then just walked off. So we don't like watch it around the house. It's so there's a curiosity to how it stands up and how things work, and a lot of surprises because you don't remember each scene or each episode. So it lands on fresher eyes.
Yeah, and I also want to know what it was like. Do you remember when cell phones hit the set? Do you remember when because I'm thinking about it, like in 2001, what did you do? You went to the Blockbuster, I'm sure of. I'm sure you went and did stuff outside, but it wasn't like today where if you're on a production anywhere in the world, I'm still plugged into all my friends.
It was cell phones, like flip phones, and like Nokia phones and pagers were kind of like, kind of fading out. And then I remember the BlackBerry came on, and then the iPhone a couple seasons in. And then by the time it was, I don't know, season 5, 6, or 7, it was like no cell phones on set. It took that long.
Yeah.
The cool thing is we didn't have that. We weren't bombarded with messages online back then to people say, why would they cast him as Lex Luthor? Or why is he Clark Kent? We didn't have a lot of that until years later. Right. So that was healthier for us.
We'll get it now on the podcast.
100%. Unfortunately, everything you were sheltered from is going to hit you tenfold now. So yes, that's all for par for the course. Yeah,
we're excited for it.
One of the things that I wanted to ask you, Tom, specifically was when they were producing the show, obviously they had the no flights, no tights rule for the majority of the show. And then recently, I think you did an interview where you said that you would have loved to be the Superman for Robert Pattinson's Batman.
Yeah.
During the time of Smallville, did you ever just get curious and want to wear the costume, or were you just 100% committed to just being Clark?
I mean, I never wanted to wear the costume. I'm not even for Halloween. One time I dressed up as Frankenstein for Halloween, and I got the biggest, squarest Frankenstein thing. And we went into In-N-Out Burger. I was with a group of friends to get burgers, and I had it on. And the security guy comes and goes, "Hey man, you got to take that off. You got to take that off." And I was like, "It's my costume." And he was like, "No, it's also like security. Like we don't know who you are if you try to rob the place." So the point is, I took it off. I go over and sit with my friends, and I have the helmet down in the middle of the table, and I'm eating my burger, and my buddy goes, look. And I turn around, and the kid sitting right next to me is dressed as Clark Kent from Smallville. And I was like, whoa, like that's... So, and I didn't know what to do, and right before we left, I was like, hey, man, and he goes, hey. Because I was all anyway. But no, the suit thing. I don't know. I always knew that once you do that, there's no going back. I think it's different now. But I also didn't want Smallville to turn into, hold on a second, let me go put the cape on. I want it to be about Clark and his journey of trying to become, or him trying to figure out who he is and his place in the world. And I think that's very difficult, as you see in the films, when you start flying around in a suit.
Yeah, it would have been a different show, I think, if you wore tights. It would become something different. And it stayed in Smallville for all those seasons until it was over. And I feel like that worked. So
yeah.
No, I definitely like that. One of the things that I remember seeing back the early 2000s is later in the show when you became the Blur, they had these like concept arts where they it was almost like a Superman like Superboy jumpsuit where it was like a blue and red leotard with the symbol, and I'm like, they're not going to do that. And then they ended up going with like the leather jacket that was zipped up and had the logo in it. I'm like, that makes sense.
Yeah, it was like some version of a Superman hybrid cross that they got away with, and that was my least favorite theme because I kind of knew what they were doing without doing it, So Michael hasn't seen it; he hasn't seen any of that. So
I have no idea what you're talking about.
That was about the point where they had that one random Lex episode where it was like a body double wearing like a breathing apparatus.
Yeah,
and I was like, that's not Rosenbaum at all.
No.
For years, I know they had my old stand-in, and they would have the back of his head on shots. That the people,
like almost like Inspector Gadget, like the claw, like
people would say,
the chair.
You're on Smallville again. I'm like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
They would also not always tell us that they were going to insert those shots, which is fine because we weren't supposed to be we didn't know we were being watched by Lex or something. But then I would see the episodes, I'd be like, oh, that's weird. He was just like watching us. They're talking. All right.
What food locations do you miss from those days? Where had the best pancakes? Where had the best hamburger place that you're like, man, if I go up there, I got to eat at whatchamacallit?
There's a place called Tojo's. It's a sushi restaurant that is like so bomb. I've been there since. Like I've been to Vancouver a handful of times, and I always have to go there. And then there's a place down in
Gotham Steakhouse.
Gotham Steakhouse. Yep. And then there's a place that only does oysters and things. I forget the name of it, but there were like 3 spots. I mean, I didn't have a lot of time to go out. In fact, having gone back to Vancouver once the show ended years later, I realized I knew my way around Vancouver, but I hadn't really experienced how awesome it was. Because to me, it was coming home at 6 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, trying to do whatever to go back to work 6 a.m. on Monday for 10. So I wasn't like out in Vancouver. It's a great town though.
And for some of the logistics, we idolize actors. We see you up on the screen. We watch your pretty faces. We go, that's the life for me. But what is the physical work of the production of the week? Because not only shooting, but then when did you get scripts? When are you learning these things? Were you learning
Yeah, Michael, you'll hear all this on Talkville every week.
Okay, great. Great.
But you're right. I mean, it's like we get into that where it's like the first couple seasons you're working 12, 14 hours a day into the weekend, and it's freezing and raining, and it's just it's a lot. There was a point where we all wrote a letter to the president of Warner Brothers saying, get Tom a car every day because he's going to die driving home. And they ended up doing that. It was crazy. I remember crazy hours. But when you're young and you're just eager and ready to go, and like you're like, all right, you don't. I couldn't do it now, but it was a time period for sure.
Well, and also believe it or not, it's the waiting that's sometimes harder. The anticipation. Maybe you don't work for 3 days. Okay, it's not enough. It's not enough time to leave. It's not enough time to get settled. I think there's that's a whole nother craft, is how to be an actor who's on call. I didn't have many of those days because I was just in the show so much. But since then, I've been on movies or shows where you have 6 hours. You can't leave. You have 6 hours, and you think, oh, I'm just gonna read a book. I'm gonna get on my iPad, whatever. But the anticipation of going back into a mindset or a creative mode I think that's why some people, start hitting the bottle or, doing a lot of other things. But but basically for me it was, 5:30, 6 a.m. starts on Monday, and then finishing 4:30, 5 a.m. on Saturday morning, and then wash and repeat. Yeah.
It's such a commitment, and it I would assume that as the show goes on and they see the talent that they have, they then start writing for you, correct?
There's a bit of an adjustment. Yeah. Like, this actor who's not working, John Glover was started as a guest star. He was so good, he became a cast member.
Right.
That's a perfect example.
They find your strengths. I think as they see you act from the first few episodes and how it's edited, they know what your strengths are, and I think they work towards that. And everybody, they all want you to look better. They want you to make the show better, and they look, what's your strength? And I wish I would have been able to get a little evil early on at times, but I liked the arc. I liked that it was, I didn't become like, twirling his mustache like too early, because it wouldn't have been as cool. And it definitely took a lot of time. At the end, I was like, I'm ready to be an asshole.
You were also on such a, it started in 2001. It's such a trajectory because it was such a big deal for, Superman's been on television and in moving pictures now forever. I mean, it's such an iconic thing, but the level of fandom that ramped up during those years, Comic-Con in 2001 is very different than Comic-Con 2008, when all of a sudden it's a launching vehicle for the Twilight movies, and all of a sudden it becomes this different thing. When did you notice that change? When did that ramping up start?
Well, I remember at the beginning we were working a lot trying to get the show going, and there was an invitation to be on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine, and they wanted to shoot it on Saturday. And I was like, yeah, but don't I work on Saturday? They're like, no, you'll be done Saturday morning at like 2 or 3 in the morning. And I go, well, what time's the photo shoot? And they're like 10 a.m. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, because production and publicity don't talk. And it was like, this is Rolling Stone. I'm like, I'm going to die. Like, you guys. And by the way, a lot of actors go through this. But it was one of those things where I was like, well, if they're asking us to be on the cover of Rolling Stone, we must be doing something. And we ended up getting it done. I think we moved it a couple hours or something. But I think that's when I felt like, I think we're onto something here.
Mm.
So in the years that followed the end of Smallville, the Arrowverse became a thing. And that whole cinematic TV universe only existed because of Smallville. Obviously, the Arrow TV show was actually supposed to be Justin Hartley's spinoff. That didn't happen. They got retooled and then birthed the whole universe out of it. And then later on, you in the Crisis event, Tom, you reprised your role as kind of an epilogue to the show.
Sure.
What does that kind of feel like to know that your show, the lasting effects are still seen today with TV comic book?
I think it's awesome. I mean, because I know there's a guy named Glenn Winter who was one of our DPs and then director, and went on to be a big part of those shows. So, and I love that guy. I'm a big fan of him, and for him to go out and create those other shows, and all from sort of the lens of or from the pen of Alan Miles and the vision of a David Nutter. I mean, it's just cool. It's awesome. And it's also fun when we see those guys at like Comic-Cons or out, like Amel and all those guys. There is a little bit of a nod, but they've all taken it to their own level. I mean, I don't even think Supernatural would existed without Jensen Head being, my football coach on Smallville. So
true.
No, I firmly believe that. That's why they killed him off in the show, right? Like he got offered the pilot, and they were like, "We got to kill him now."
Yeah,
so
he
like
did a good job. They killed him and gave him a show that ran 15 years. So
yeah.
Oh my God! By the way, non sequitur. I remember an episode. Now we're gonna have to talk about of me and Jensen with our hands tied, both shirtless.
Oh yeah. I
don't remember what the episode was called, but I can't wait till we get to that one.
Look at Jensen on that one.
Did he drop his ice cream cone like Dawson's dad in Dawson's Creek? Did he die doing something heroic, or did he just roll off the road?
I don't
remember.
Okay.
I remember this because it was batshit insane. He got killed by a meteor.
Okay. Just like Lana's parents.
Yeah, like I remember it was like at the near the end of one of the seasons, like another meteor shower was happening, and he was like holding Clark's parents hostage with a shotgun, and a meteor like struck through the house and killed him. And I'm like, that's convenient.
This is how the conversations go on Talkville. Like we talk about stuff like that. Like that's the reaction to a dead body, really, Pete? You know, like we really joke around about stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a blast, guys. I think people are gonna really love Talkville. It's the more I think about it, the more we talk about things. I feel like it's exciting for us, and it's going to be exciting for the fans as well.
Were there any other big productions in town? I mean, you were there for so long. Were there other shows that you would run into that were filming during the same time you were filming?
Well, there was Supernatural. X-Men was up there. A bunch of stuff was coming through Vancouver. Unfortunately, I didn't get a lot of time to like visit other people. I produced a show called Hellcats, which was there for a year, and I was able to shoot over there a couple of times and sort of pop in and say hello. But I don't recall what was up there. Probably an easy Google check, but it wasn't like there was actors everywhere you turned around because it's such a spread out place. But there were definitely a lot up there.
Yeah.
So in the years that have finished, obviously with the show having its lasting effects, I guess we can kind of close on this one with the show now. You guys going to cons and seeing all the fans and seeing all the love. What do you want to, like, obviously giving the show to the fans is a huge thing, but what do you want to say to them, the ones who've lasted for all these years?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you. And I think they've been a big encouragement to Michael and I taking off on this endeavor because we're hearing questions from them about these kinds of things. And as we rewatch the episodes, we're more informed to talk about them now because a lot of times they ask us questions and we're like, I really don't remember. Now we're able to kind of bring more to the table than that. And
you sound like child soldiers. It sounds like it is this huge benefit, but it's also this trauma that went in your life, and you took a long time to process it, and now you're processing it. And I'm so thankful that we get to join you for that process because you are, especially when I watch your other podcasts and stuff like that, just the ins and outs of being a working actor and living that. It's a very specific thing it's a very specific craft that you have done. And there are very few people that have gone through those struggles, and to do it as long as you have is an amazing feat. It really is an amazing thing.
Well, and TV, film production, the finished product is made to look seamless, but there's a lot of things that go into it. I mean, if you think of a 42-minute television episode takes 10 days to shoot. So there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, and I was there for a lot of it, and so was Michael.
Yeah, but we appreciate you guys, hyping this up and supporting us, and we're looking forward to every Wednesday Talkville. I hope you guys will be there. I hope the fans will be there, interact, and we're ready to go.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us. I know I'm going to be tuning in because I love your other show, and I'm going to love this one because it's right up my alley. And
thank you, Michael.
And as a person that has not watched Smallville, again, as you heard from my ignorance, I am excited that I get to go through the show with you two. It's very, we lived in a time. COVID happened. Everyone watched 1 million hours of TV. I've watched a lot of things. The idea that I get to then go through this with you two, and then once I get into the rhythm of the show, go ahead of you two, and then to go back to it, that is a wonderful bookmark, and it's a wonderful way to get other people into this thing because it did affect so many people in such a positive way, which I'm sure you're running into at every Comic-Con. Somebody tells you, oh, Smallville saved my life. I'm sure you're getting those conversations, and you will only get more of those. So mazel tov and congratulations. Much success to both of you. Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Taylor.
Thank you again.
Cheers.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today on this special episode of the Cultured Nerd Podcast, where we talked Talkville with Clark Kent and Lex Luthor themselves from Smallville, Michael Rosenbaum and Tom Welling. A big thank you for joining us. Thank you again, everyone who supports us. Go ahead and head over to our Patreon, support us, help us do what we love to do, and have yourself a great rest of your day. Thank you again, everyone.
Have yourself a great day. Don't forget to check out Smallville and also Talkville. It's all coming, everybody. Get hyped.
Yeah, get hyped. It's coming next week, next Wednesday. Cannot wait. Thank you again, everyone.
Bye.